Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for joining us whenever and wherever you are. My name is Zachary Hill, and I'm the Chief of Staff here at Tomorrow's Talent, where we strive every day to be the bridge for students from the world of education into the real world of work. And this is the Bridge to Tomorrow's Talent, a podcast where we look at the future of the workforce, the state of the workforce today, work-based learning, and what really makes the real world of work tick for folks. Today, I'm joined by Cayley Vos, the CEO at NetPaths Conversion Optimization, where they design websites and online marketing focused on conversion and optimizing. Cayley, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do specifically at NetPaths?
Hey, Zach, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining
Um,
us.
I've been making websites with my company NetPaths since 1999 and getting companies set up online and helping them drive business and leads to their company.
So, in the world of like online marketing today, right, we've got a bunch of different search engines. There's various content suggestion algorithms. People are starting to use AI as their search engine instead of something like Google or Bing. There's a big, heavy oversaturation of ads in a lot of environments. What are you guys doing to like stay on the bleeding edge? How do you guys stay constant and up to date?
You have to do research. When I started, it was basically right before Google got started. So it was literally in the beginning before Google even had any paid ads. And
Mm.
they ate the market completely. They totally ate search and the way people find information. And now ChatGPT is that up and coming service that people go straight to and are just obviating Google for searching. And Google search traffic and more importantly, clicks out are down about possibly 50%. So
Wow.
just in that short time frame, there's this massive company in the space is now kind of could be replaced. So,
Even
and
one of the
that's some
giants. Wow.
that is the giant. And that's only been, ChatGPT's only been around for maybe 2 years. So that's that's the
Research,
and
research.
and but the thing that's still important is with AGI, you still have to provide the information, and they it still has to find that information somewhere. So
Mm.
if you can create that, if you can write that, if you can put that on something that you own, then it will use that and hopefully link out to it to get back to you when someone does a search for that information.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. So, you're saying even though we're using AI to search now, still kind of the same logic applies, right? Put it out there and make it searchable. It's just a different way you make it searchable now.
You have to think more in terms of um, full answers instead of just keywords. So it's
Mm.
it's it's a little bit it's a little bit more like an FAQ model where you have a specific question, and then you have a you know a full phrase question, even a long question, and then a detailed answer to
Mm.
that specific question. So it's more yeah, less, a couple keywords or keyword phrases and more actual, really complete thoughts.
Gotcha.
And if
Okay.
so that's what you want to create that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that
And
sounds very understandable, right? That makes sense to me. And hopefully that gives us some more comprehensive stuff, right? Some things where, like you said, we're offering real full answers. But you said something that interested me there. You said when you got your start, it was before Google was, the behemoth it was today. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got your start in this work and what helped you go from, high school graduate to where you are today as CEO of NetPaths?
so I started in the university lab of the college I went to north of Seattle, and just had no idea what I wanted to do. Got a degree in geology, which was kind of kind of fun, but I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. So I got an opportunity to work with a company doing their accounting on their computers, and they had a website that sold vitamins, and they said that if I could get the website working and up and together, they'd give me half the profits. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I did that and actually made it work. Just figured it out and just really learned HTML and coding and PHP, CGI from the web and got it to work. And that was great. And then I said, okay, well now we've got this website that works selling vitamins. Well, now how to make sales. How do you make money on it? So then came the part of researching, how to get the site ranked, how to get traffic, how to get found. And yeah, back then I think Excite was the biggest one. They just closed a huge round of funding, and they were buying this new campus and getting a lot of action. There was Hotbot and Magellan and Yahoo was there. Alta Vista was big and pretty good. And then so you had all these places, and there was not one spot to search like there is now. But then when I first used Google, I knew that their solution was the answer. I didn't know if that company would be the answer, but I knew that the way that their engineering was the way, and they ended up being the way.
So then how did you get from selling vitamins, right? And I mean working on a website to sell vitamins and marketing it to founding your own company? What did that transition look like?
Yeah, so just started doing things, and I figured out how to do it. I figured out how to get some traffic, and in the vitamin space was just insanely competitive. But and I just started just helping other businesses that needed the same thing. So
Mm.
there were just companies that they had a problem. They didn't have a website. Back then it was nobody was really doing it, and wanting to get business off of their website. So I just started reaching out to other companies, and then created my own site, and did that. And I did that before I had a business license or any formal thing and all. I just started. I didn't ask for his permission. I didn't ask for anybody to help. I just did it.
Right. Where do you think that drive came from to just make it happen for yourself? I see a lot of like the students that we work with nowadays, they are really struggling to find like a why, right? A purpose behind what they do. What was that why for you that got you to not only, learn all those skills that you learned to help sell those vitamins and run that, but then to take that and to do so much more with it?
Um, the part I remember, being in high school and talking to the guidance counselor, and they said, if you find something you know you're good at, and you enjoy doing, do that, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Mm,
Well, they forgot to mention the second part of that, which is, do something that other people find valuable and are willing to pay for.
yeah.
So you want to combine, your innate interest and your innate skills with something that people are going to want to pay for. And I didn't really enjoy computer programming in school. In university, I took a class and didn't like it, and I didn't remember it. But then when I graduated, I found the internet and found it to be connected, and found a way to instantly be able to connect, to do something and have someone to be able to see it immediately and get value out of that, and appreciate it. That was exciting. So,
Okay.
so finding something that you really, you can really be passionate about, because it's tough. It's a cliche to say, but starting a business is it's not easy, and most of them don't make it, and it's so hard. But if you're doing something that you really love, then you can keep persevering. You can keep going through the dark days, the times that are tough, and you know you when you go through the struggle and the suffering and the difficulties, and that's for better or for worse, that's part of it.
Where along the journey do you feel like you finally had your feet under you, and could start really making like, informed decisions as opposed to just reacting to, you get a job, you do whatever you're supposed to do. When did you finally feel like you were kind of in control and doing things? I mean, if even yet, right?
I call that the latte moment.
Okay.
The time when I was able to buy lattes without stressing instead of just coffee.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
making coffee in your kitchen as opposed to going out and getting this is, back in whatever, the early 2000s, it was totally different. The coffee culture was, not was much more specialized, but that was the moment, so I felt comfortable being able to do that. Um, and it's, getting comfortable but not complacent
Mm.
is is important. I think that, being able to find things that can scale will help you do that,
I like
and
that.
help
Comfortable
that
but
happen
not
a lot.
complacent. That's a good way to put it. Here at Tomorrow's Talent, we're always focused on thinking about the next generation of the workforce and how we can better prepare them for the real world of work. So, what do you think the next generation of professionals is looking like? I mean, I don't know how much interaction you have with entry level employees, people coming fresh out of high school or college and jumping into the workforce, but do you feel like they're coming out really eager? Do they have the skills they need to be successful? Are there any gaps you notice with folks that are just starting out?
When I graduated high school, my grandfather gave me a card and a book, and
Mm.
he said, you need to do these two things. When you go off into, the next your next phase, independent phase is, the what first was read a few good books and think about them. And the second is learn to write good sentences.
Mm.
And those two things I think are absolutely universal, and they'll never go away. So, the struggles people had are pretty much universal. Young people struggling, not knowing what to do, going out in this big new world, and it's scary, and it seems like everything's set, and it seems like it's all together, and it seems like everything is fixed. But you can the magic is really when you go out and are able to make these little changes, make things, someone said you push something here and watch it pop out over there.
Mm.
And, uh, and that's really what the magic is. And I would just say, read and talk to people, read things you really enjoy and are challenged by, and talk to people that you respect and want to emulate. Because most of the time, if you're eager and polite, you'll be able to talk to someone who could be a mentor at some level.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's great advice. Did you have on your way up? I mean, I know you said you learned a lot of those skills that you did. You were going out on the internet and finding them, right? Figuring out how to do it, kind of self-teaching. But did you have a mentor in your early career that helped you kind of put left in front of right and figure everything out?
a little bit, not looking back, not probably not enough. But I did have a business partner when I started, and he was older, so they definitely had lessons and things that I learned from him. That was good. Anybody that's done that's done what you want to do is someone good to talk to. And then just reading, yeah, just reading, finding people online. That is, you can find anyone you feel like you want to have as a mentor. So one that I read a lot and watched a lot was Steve Jobs,
Mm.
of Apple. He
Yeah.
started that. He was yeah, he was a huge influence on my thinking, and just thinking about kind of the why, and how to make things nice, make things look good, as well as work good.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, do you think what big challenges do you think if a newcomer to somebody trying to get into this world of marketing and helping businesses convert, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that they might face trying to start today that maybe differ from or the same as that you had to face when you were starting?
yeah, that it's don't necessarily start with something that people have done.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a very simple example, but right now, trying to start a web design company is would be tough because it's so saturated. There's just so many people that do it and have done it for a long time. And yeah, there's probably ways that that could be unique. I mean, there could be a new twist on it, you know, a new avenue on it, but it's quite saturated. So, the best thing really is just to go, and it's kind of and that's what I did is I just found companies that had a pain point. And the pain point was they weren't online. They didn't know how to, they had no idea how to do it. They had literally no clue. And now that's not the case. I mean, there's GoDaddy and the places you can get them sites for basically free. But if you go talk to business owners, talk to people that own companies, that run companies, and just ask them, what's what's slowing you down? What's keeping you from growing? What's causing you to have headaches?
Right.
What gives you problems? And pretty good chance they'll tell you a couple things. Maybe pretty good chance they might tell you a lot of things that are really frustrating for them. And if you do that, you'll find intersections, and you'll find overlaps. You'll find things that are kind of universal, and those would be great things to think about and attack, and then try to solve.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so look for pain points, look for gaps, look for barriers that people are facing and come up with a solution for them. Okay. Then entrepreneurship can be really intimidating for a lot of folks, right? If they're looking at starting a new company or trying to go out on their own with a venture as opposed to getting a job, right? There's a lot of uncertainty around starting something up, and that anxiety can get in the way for a lot of folks. How would you suggest they try and cure that anxiety or get around it or learn before they go start to try and reduce that risk? What do you think some of the best ways to get ready to go start something are?
I don't know. The more pain you have, the better you'll be, the better you'll be at succeeding. I guess I don't.
Okay.
I just remember, I had kind of no option. It's the small town, and I um, didn't really have many resources around me. Didn't My family wasn't in that town where I was after university, and all I had was my skills, my brain, my hustle, my grit, my desire to learn,
Mm.
and willingness to do pretty much anything. And that's what I that's what I took. So I think if you have that, and if you really have that, kind of mindset of no other option. And when you're young, the best time to do it. I would highly encourage you to do that, because again, you don't, hopefully you don't have kids, don't have a family, you don't have responsibilities, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have things to do, and hopefully not a car payment. So you're free to your time. You're free to your to do ambitious things, and things that it's got hard work in the short term that'll pay off in the long term. Um, and there's one quote I heard, do the things you you don't want to do today, but you can do the things that other people can't do tomorrow.
I like that quote. I like that. Do the things you don't want to do today so you can do the things other people can't tomorrow. That's a really great way of looking at putting in the work today so you can have a better future. I really like that outlook. Um, we said earlier AI is changing a lot of things and automation is changing a lot of things for folks, right? Even if it's not full-blown AI. And just the workforce is really rapidly altering and shifting from what it was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, not to even say, 20, 30 years ago. What do you think might be on the horizon for folks in the next 25 years, or how can they keep an eye out for what's coming if it's one of those things that you can't predict?
I remember back. I was very young, and my dad was in school, and he got a calculator,
Mm.
and it was an HP calculator, like one of the very first ones that had a little, hard buttons, and it had like this little fixed display, and it was super expensive. It cost, I don't know, like a month's wages or something. It's really,
Wow.
and it didn't do a whole lot, but it was still a calculator. And you know, the thought of the day was, well, God, no one's going to learn math anymore. They're just going to have this little machine, do all the do everything, and no one's going to ever have to learn, anything about numbers. Well, of course, that's not true.
Right.
Math is still extremely important. Knowing numbers and knowing how to use them, and knowing math is incredibly a valuable skill that you definitely need to know. So, just because we have, now we have AI that can write for you, we still need to know how to read and write. Still need to know, just how to make good sentences, how to communicate in a written way as well as spoken. So knowing the foundations, knowing just knowing, math, science, literature will put you ahead of the majority of people. And that can give you a stepping stone to to get to something that you want to do. Um,
Okay.
because AI, computers can do a lot,
Right.
but um,
Yeah, very powerful nowadays.
but we still need people, um, and 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 even more connection.
So maybe like that old adage about sports, right? Where they say you got to have your basics down before you can do anything beyond that. You think the same kind of here. Make sure that you've really got a firm grasp of the basic skills that you'll need and then keep your eyes open for a way to apply them.
I think that's a great analogy, actually. I like that one.
Okay.
Yes, that'll take you surprisingly far, because
So
it's not exciting. I mean, AI is exciting. It's exciting to be able to write a story by itself, um, but anybody can do that. It doesn't set you apart at all. You want to be the one that people come to.
So then, as the workforce is changing and technology is filling in a lot of these gaps, we're seeing entry-level positions kind of shift and the expectations for workers. I see a lot of people say they're growing. I might think they're changing is more a better way to put it, right? Because some responsibilities are getting shifted off to automation, but new responsibilities are coming or just more expectations, but in a different way. Do you think that there's enough pathways for early professionals to build the experience they need? I mean, to take your story as an example, right? You got that shot to build that very first website or to fix that website, right? That was selling vitamins. Do you think those kinds of, low-hanging opportunities are still there for folks to kind of cut their teeth on?
I do, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I do. There's so many. The greatest thing we have are just, there's so many small businesses, just
Mm.
everywhere. Businesses doing things you have no idea of. There's, I've talked to companies that, do these, wild specialized things, you know, automating a small machine process,
Mm.
or a small way of organizing real estate data. There's millions of businesses and companies that are doing things, with teams of between 1 and 10 people. So um, yes, and that's one of the amazing things we have is the freedom still, and the encouragement to go and start that.
Okay.
And even me, the first business that I was in, the vitamin thing, that kind of failed.
Mm.
Didn't go. It didn't. Nothing really nothing really happened. It kind of petered out. But that led to my career that I've done ever since.
Right. It gave
So,
you the tools and the
and
experience you needed. Yeah.
and I've known people that have failed 10 times before they found the thing that they want. I guess I was lucky. There was a one. So um, yeah, and I think that hard, working well and hard, um, it's something that's, that people need. You you kind of can't fail almost, and that's where a mentor can help you maybe guide to find the right one.
Yeah. Do you think that, existing companies, whether big or small, right? Because you're talking about small teams of 1 to 10 folks, but we know there's those behemoths out there, right, with hundreds or thousands of folks under their payroll. Do you think they have a responsibility to provide that kind of mentorship and go back down, or what role do you think they play in, boosting up the next level, whether it's of entrepreneurs or of, just workforce?
Well, the founders that I know are so excited to help
Mm.
the next generation. So they see an eager, encouraged, hard driven young person. You just can't go out of your way. You want to go out of your way. You can't not help them. So because we've been there, because
Mm.
that's we've literally been right there and have kind of have made it past. Um, and and it's sort of like a just the you see the evolution of of people going through their work lives and it's yeah and helping them the new people is just a natural thing and I've really I guess I can't even think of anyone who wouldn't
Mm.
be happy to give advice.
So then if you could give some advice to, whether it's a new graduate or if you're thinking about yourself instead of that school counselor, right, that told you to go after what you love, and then you thought, oh, well, I need to make a living too, right? If you could give some advice to folks who are at that point in their life, what would you let them know? What would your advice be?
Yeah, I mean find that intersection of what you really enjoy, your passion, and what you're good at, and something that people want to pay for. So, if you do that, um, then you really can't go wrong. Yeah, I remember thinking think I love hiking and sailing, things I just love, passions to do. And I remember thinking, what the heck, can I make a living doing that? It'd be fun to do, to create some kind of a, thing to take people out sailing, but can I make a living doing that? And I said, no, I didn't think that would be something that would be people would want to pay for. So, um, so that ends up being a hobby. Yeah, um, keeping your eyes open for little things that don't work, for things that are not optimized.
Mm,
And now more than ever, things in the real world,
mm.
things you can help improve or fix or make better, um, you know, outside of computers is hugely needed.
Okay. Well, Kaylee, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your thoughts. I know I learned a lot, and I really hope that a lot of the folks watching took a lot of what you were saying to heart, because I think there was a lot of really great wisdom in there for people who are just getting started or thinking about entrepreneurship on how to think about it, right? And how to go about problem solving and setting up. Before we sign off here, is there anything else that you wanted to say? Any little last minute additions?
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about the future. I'm optimistic about the new people. I'm optimistic, about things getting better. I'm optimistic about humanity, and excited. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to see to be a part of things that are happening. And I've been that for a long time. And eventually it'll be passing the torch to the next generation. And I think it's incredibly exciting. And I can't wait to see what you guys do.
That's great. That's great. We're really excited too. We know there's a lot of amazing talent out there in the next generations and can't wait to see what they do exactly. Just can't wait to see what they're going to make happen. I mean, if the last 20 years have been big change, right? We can't wait for the next 20 years. A reminder for everybody watching or listening along, in the description of this episode, you should find a link to our churn calculator. It's a great tool you can use if you're a business owner to play with some numbers and see what the real cost of churn is for your organization. And if you want to, please feel free to give us an email or a call, and we'll be happy to set up a meeting and sit down with you and look through that and really analyze what your churn cost is and how we can maybe make some changes to that with some internship or apprenticeship and get folks to stick around. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We appreciate you guys listening or watching along. If you're on YouTube, please give us a like or a subscribe so that you can share the word with others and get notifications when we have new episodes come out. And if you're just listening along on one of the non-video platforms, I really encourage you to please give this a favorite or follow us so that you see all those new episodes and you can talk to other folks about what you hear here and just get this discussion going out in the world, right, about what the future holds and what we can do to make sure that the workforce of tomorrow is even better than it is today. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next time on the Bridge to Tomorrow's Talent.